Hey, this is Bader. Wanted to go over something I just saw. I was on Stuke's Baseball Cards and Curiosities watching a video of his, and he was showing some different cards, and he got through some Kirby Puckett cards, which I love. I can't get enough of that stuff. But when he was going through, he got to one of the cards I really, really like. It's one of Puckett's Pacific Prism cards. And it made me think a little bit of the company Pacific Trading Cards because I used to actually, when I drove to work in the early 2000s, I would drive by the factory in Linwood, Washington on my way to work. And every time I would drive by, I'd think, man, they're making baseball cards there. That's so cool. It doesn't have much love in the hobby, Pacific, but it's got its place and it's got a couple things about the company that's still really, really relevant. So I just want to go over those, give a quick history, and then share the Puckett cards that I have. 'Cause I think I got most of them that Pacific had made. But the Pacific Coast Company was started by a guy named Mike Kramer, who was an absolute extreme baseball card junkie. By the time he was 15, it said he had over 500,000 cards. And this is in the 1960s. So that's a ton. Later, he started working on a fishing boat and made a decent amount of money up in Alaska. Came back down, and he was able to ink a deal with Topps where he was starting to buy just closeout cases of cards. And he was getting them by the truckload, and he had multiple storage units where he'd keep all this stuff. And then he started a catalog, a mail order business out of his home in Edmonds. And then he was able to switch and do that full time. And then in 1980, he opened a card store in Edmonds, which is really close to Linwood. And across the street from that was a warehouse that he began making cards for the AAA Pacific Coast League. And then he started making, and this is where a big contribution is he started actually being the first company that made the plastic sheets that you would put cards in and store. And when I was a kid, like that's the way you stored them. You stored everything good was in plastic sheets, and all your crap you just left in a box. That's how we did it. And then in 1989, they ramped up quite a bit, and he built a factory in Linwood, and that's the one that I always drove by. He released the King Griffey Jr. chocolate bar. I don't know if anybody remembers those. Those were big here in Washington. I remember those. And then a couple of years later, he did the same for the Wade Boggs and the Tony Gwynn cards. And that's why I have these pulled out, because I actually have the Wade Boggs baseball card for their chocolate bar that they made there, which is pretty cool. I had never seen one of these. I just bought a whole collection off of a guy. It was over 600 different Wade Boggs cards. Oh, man, Jeannie, where's my white gloves, man? There's the chocolate bar wrapper. I'm wondering if like one's with nuts and one's not. I don't know. But there we got two there. We got a Prism card out, one of his other cards. So they released those, and then in 91, they began to get an NFL license, and they started making cards there. And that's the first time I remember them. I think it was in 92 at that time. I lived up in Alaska, and we would buy bread, and you'd open up the bread, and they would leave a card in there. And I can't remember his name. It was Mark McGuire's brother. Dan McGuire? I think that's what it was, of the Seahawks. And they're all Seahawks cards. Yeah, I remember Cortez Kennedy as well. But you could get one of their cards, and it looked a lot like this one. In there. That was the first time I remember seeing Pacific. Well, 2 years later, they got the Major League Baseball license, and the thing that they did different, it's kind of like O-Pee-Chee, is they started putting Spanish on the back, and I think they were trying to appeal more to West Coast and get into California and the popularity of baseball in the Hispanic culture. And then in a couple big things about there's no huge cards from Pacific, except in 99, they were the first company to release a Kurt Warner card. And then the next year is really the big one. They released the very first Tom Brady cards. And my understanding is that he was only a 6th-round draft pick, so a lot of the other companies it wasn't really that big of a deal. And so he was able to be around him and took a lot of those pictures himself. And then he inked Tom to a 700 card deal where he would ink 700 of them. And I guess in 2021, I am not familiar with this card, but it sold for $117,000. So the first licensed NFL card of Tom Brady was May of 2000, and that was by Pacific. That was kind of like the near the end of the road out for them, though, because in 2003 they lost their NFL license. Shortly after, they lost their Major League Baseball license, and in 2003, 2004, all they had was NHL license left. And after they went on their strike, Mark's like, dude, I'm done. So he decided to retire, and he sold the company off to Playoff. And then not a whole lot later, Playoff sold it to Panini. So currently, though, this is still relevant because we can thank Pacific Trading Card Company for stuff like this, the Prism. And the Prism was Prism. And when Panini got a hold of it, they just changed the S to the Z, and it's Prism. So that is because of Pacific Trading Company. So with that, I'm going to move over Wade Boggs, the great Wade Boggs, and we're going to go to my Kirby Puckett collection here of just Pacific cards. So here we have the 93, kind of a boring design. Good pictures though. Is 94. Is that annoying when I do this? I just need to hold like that. Any comment on that? I had to quit moving the cards around. Oh, my wife also told me, Anthony, you need to make sure your fingernails are okay. You post videos. Here's the Prism. And I just discovered before I did this video, I was like, is there any Pacific trading cards that I don't have? And I was looking on eBay, I'm like, I couldn't find any, except there's a variant of this one. This has got those circles, which looks super cool. The other one, it looks, it's weird. It looks like kind of this weird triangulated mirror kind of thing. So, of course, I jumped on eBay and made an offer to a guy who had one. Let's see if he takes it. All right. Here we go with the 95. I have 2 big black boxes that I keep all of my Puckets in there, and I keep track of all my different ones. And I switched over from Beckett Shields a while ago because I was having a hard time finding them, or I'd accidentally order the wrong size, but I would just put the name on there because my eyes are getting bad and I can't read the bottoms anymore. There we go. Here's another Prism. Are those cool looking? But I'm running out of room. Currently I'm around 1,300 different Kirby Puckett cards where every card is different. Here we go. We got the crown. Got the gold. Super cool. Panini really came up with some cool stuff. They were a great contributor. They were never one of the big boys, but they came up with some great ideas. Look at that. Very cool. Kirby's always smiling. He's always smiling. Here we got another, we got another insert here. I'm still figuring out how to hold the card, where to hold it where you can see it. My wife says I should turn the camera around, but I really like being able to see all the cards laid out there like that. I enjoy that. It's a cool one too. You know, and I do this every time. My first video, I had little ring markers up in the corners, and I did that as markers, and she said that was distracting. So I took them off. Took them off. Okay, we're almost done. That is awesome. I like their crown logo. I think that's a neat logo. Put it right there. Also 96. They really started the die cuts, and they got really intricate. It's another year of the die cut. And here's the last one, back to kind of a more of a standard, boringish card. But that's my run of the Pacifics on Puckets. Hey, do me a favor. If there's any Puckets that you'd see that I don't have that's Pacific, let me know. I'm having a hard time finding a good checklist for just Pacific for Puckett. Or even if there's like, hey, here's a good database where you just want it specifically by one of the manufacturers, that'd be fantastic. All right, that's it. Hope you liked it. Bader out.